Well, actually, we have a particular passage from the book which I think conveys so much that the author is trying to say to us.
Things are always clearer from a distance. Killing and torture are only words, something that happened to somebody else. But when you reduce distance, get close to people, and start to recognise features, voices, gestures, and emotions, words take on a different meaning. Words are made into matter. So kill might mean kill Nazir and Saeed. Execute might mean execute Ali and Mustafa.
One thing that comes out of this book is that quite distinctly the Shia population in the south, the Sunni and the Muslim, the Kurds in the north, this is a completely artificial construction. Not quite, I mean, Pakistan's not quite in that league, but once again, these are nations where imperial powers drew lines on the map and therefore end up sticking. I mean, you look at Nigeria, the civil war there. This isn't. You look at the situation in Sri Lanka with the Tamils. These are lines drawn for the convenience of Western empires. I mean, a long time ago, in most instances. To what extent is the sort of the problem that brings someone like Saddam to power, the need for one group in the society to dominate the others, the fear that if they don't dominate, they will be dominated?
Well, power is such an overwhelming force, isn't it? That when you have people brought to power, not through a participatory system, the important thing is that they consolidate and that they centralize everything. They almost reorder people's thoughts, people's movements, the way people can walk to school. There's a passage in Dreaming of Baghdad where the Red Cross is coming in to check on the conditions of prisoners in Iraq. And Haifa is just hidden because there's no such thing as political prisoners in the new free Iraq. That's very chilling.
Sami, you've grown up here and presumably you've had links with other people whose origins are in Iraq. Is the Iraqi community here united irrespective of whether they're Kurd or Sunni and Shia simply because they're exiles? Does the act of exile bring them together, or do the differences continue even in exile?
It depends. You still get some of the differences that that separated people at the time of exile. The community is still very stratified, though, professionally, you know, socially in terms of class, but there's we're kind of caught halfway between this ideal of you know, recouping and trying to regenerate some form of diasporic resistance, yet at the same time really settling into this life in exile and only having these essentially quite romantic ties to the nation, this inability to return. To return to what, exactly?
And do you have any hope for the future for Iraq? You said just foreboding ahead, or can you see somehow it might one day work?
Unfortunately, I suppose a lot of this, again, comes down to forgetting. We've been taught very recently to just forget all about everything that brought Saddam into power. The politics and the movements that had so much good intention to them, so much that wanted to overcome these kind of sectarian differences, and you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater isn't necessarily going to lead to any kind of unified resolution.
In one sense, I suppose that you look at this world that Western imperialism's created. All these artificial states, war after war, one round world after another. I mean, do you look back, and Fatima, and think it might have been a mistake to separate India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, that it was one great economic unit that had been broadly, and it's perceived as that this division of peoples along ethnic and religious lines is a fatal error?
Well, I think, unfortunately, because of the way the British ruled over the subcontinent, they created these cleavages that made partition necessary. And everywhere that the British went, you have the same thing happening, whether it's Cyprus or Northern Ireland, Palestine, Kashmir. So it is a very bloody history that perhaps could have been avoided if we hadn't had hundreds of years of foreign rule. Having had that, I think people were separated. It's the, imperial powers, whether they are British or American, do nothing better than divide and rule. And
I can't let you go, given the history of your family. Do you have any desire to go back and get involved in being part of the answer? Does anything in this drag you back to think of a political career?
I have to say, I always found the greatest power in words like Haifa's, in this notion of archiving, of putting down words, because history can be erased, because history can be revised. So for me, that's always been the answer.
And Sami, is your career one that you see some political role, perhaps even involved in Iraq, or are you also more attracted to writing?
I'm open, really. I think in a nation, in the state that Iraq is, culture may have a much more important role to play than it could in a cynical or advanced country like this. So perhaps those are avenues that could be explored.
I mean, how could you possibly think this is a cynical country with all the high debate we're currently having through our general election campaign? Anyhow, I'm delighted you enjoyed the book as I did. I hope I will meet you, whether or not you have a political career in the future, or you content yourself merely with writing. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I think this is a very frank expose. It's much more than a recollection of the horrors it describes. It is actually her dreams, her mental anguish. And so whether you judge her naive or a heroine, Zangana has given us a privileged, though frightening, insight into the nightmare world of Saddam Hussein's Baghdad, and from a woman's perspective. I'd like to thank Sami and Fatima for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Don't forget, if you have a book you'd like reviewed or have any comments on the programme, then you can email us at epilogue@presstv.co.uk. And don't forget our Facebook page. You can become a fan. It should be rolling on your screen right now. You can leave messages, watch previous episodes, and suggest books you'd like us to review. All you need to do is search Epilogue on Press TV. Until next time, thank you for watching.